Hello everyone, welcome to Pick That One Out, weekly podcast trying to pick out the fun left in football. We've reached episode 9, big milestones in the week in the podcasting world. I'm joined as always with my good friend Will Varney. Will, how you doing, mate?
I'm good, thanks, Jack. Another week gone, episode 9. Yes, well, we're really flying through these. And obviously the football was kind to us this weekend. I don't even want to imagine what the prediction scores are after last week. I think that's one that we'll get to a bit later on in the show, unfortunately. But no, very happy. Once again, thank you very much to all of those who've been listening from 1 to 9, or even if you're just starting now. Very grateful. And we've got a bumper-packed podcast. Let's try and hype it up. Let's try and get that high-octane sports news that people crave. And that's why they listen to us, maybe.
Yeah, of course. They always go for the sports news. That's why they're here. That's why we're starting with Breakfast Club. Okay then, Will. So, for the first time since doing the podcast, we're actually recording early morning.
We are, yeah.
So this
perfect
is the first
time for breakfast.
Perfect time for breakfast. It's the first time Breakfast Club has actually been at breakfast, technically. So, I mean, I'm fascinated to know what work's been put into this.
Okay, I mean, look, before we started recording, I gave you a brief insight and I said, Jack, today's Breakfast Club is a disgrace and I'm embarrassed. And I am embarrassed. You know, I never eat this early. We're obviously, like you said, we're recording this early morning. I never eat, really, breakfast this early. So today, it was almost a panic. I was like, okay, I need something quite light. I was looking for some fruit around the house. None. So that was out the window, done. Too late to go to Co-op. So then I found a box of Shreddies in the cupboard. I thought, okay, I love a bowl of Shreddies. Where's the milk? There's no milk.
Oh, no.
So today, on today's Breakfast Club, I present to you I have a spoon, I don't know why, but I have a bowl of Shreddies with a bowl of Shreddies with no milk, which it's going to be a fascinating eat. Could be quite dry. I should have really got a glass of water. Oh,
anything.
That was a mistake.
Anything.
That was a mistake. I think I might glue my mouth shut during this podcast.
Are we talking plain Shreddies?
They are plain. Yeah,
plain Shreddies. There's nothing no with liquid. Them. Not even a drink to wash them down.
No.
My prediction is you get through 3 of them before you start.
Well, look. If at any point you're talking and you just see my mouth just shut like a puppet, then you know that they've glued me. So I mean, look. This is a sad day for me.
Yeah.
I didn't expect this at episode 9. I feel like it means that whatever the next podcast is, I have to go all out for it to just try and forget this disgrace that I've decided to go for this morning.
You know, careers are full of highs and lows, and I think we've reached a low point.
Oh, it's an impeccable low. Today is the low. So yeah, you know, these Shreddies.
When you mentioned the Shreddies, and I thought, well, this isn't as bad as you made out before and at the start, but Shreddies, no milk, no drink, and I mean, come on.
I'm just eating one now, Jack, and it's just reminiscing me about sort of the Malteser hot chocolate in episode 2 and how bad that was. I mean, this could be on a new scale here. I might not actually be attempt to eat anything because this is disgraceful.
Plain Shreddies, no milk.
Does anyone eat plain Shreddies nowadays?
Surely not. Surely not.
Can't be.
Even if you
let us know if you do on the socials.
Even if you're not a milk person, surely you're almond milk or your oat milking.
I'm not a milk person. I just have a dabble, just a dab.
Yeah.
Just
for moisture.
I'm not. Yeah, exactly. I'm not filling the bowl to the top like I'm drowning it. No, it's just a nice little bit of milk, but didn't even have that opportunity today. Didn't have that option. So yeah, the dry Shreddy is what we're taking on today.
Okay. Well, it's a good thing.
You can hear me choking. You can hear me choking in the background.
It's a good thing that we've got good news to start off the Prem roundup. As you can see, I'm a happy man. this Monday morning as Arsenal won the North London derby yesterday, 2-1 at the Emirates. Will, start from your point of view. Surely you must agree that Spurs came into this one far too negative.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about it on last week's podcast, didn't we? We spoke about our favourite derbies, and I think once again the North London derby delivered something that was entertaining to watch. We have to talk about that Lamela goal first off. Not only is it outrageous, but it's still not the best RABONA he's ever scored. He scored that one from outside the box in the Europa League a few seasons back. Yeah. And for a player I despise so much, to just see that quality, the swaz he's put on that, as it's just flown into the bottom right-hand corner. Oh, it's a beautiful goal. It really is. And everyone was going crazy on social media about it. I don't blame them, because when you see something like that's got to be a goal of the season contender right off the bat. But then you look at that, and from that point, don't get going. They got the goal, but it's classic Mourinho, isn't it? They get the lead, and then it's almost like they struggle to kick on. And I know obviously Son got injured, but that was in the second half, wasn't it? And by that point it was already 1-1 at half time.
No, I think I do. No, that was first half, because Lamela got brought on for him.
Right. Okay. So this is the thing. When you lose such a key player like Son, you would expect it to. And I know that people were saying, oh, it's because Son got injured. Well, hold on. If Lamela's come on for him and scored, you've actually taken the lead. Odegaard obviously gets that goal back, and then it's all about the penalty in the second half. And when I first saw it, I thought I did think it looked a foul. And I know this is the difficult one, isn't it, Jack? It's about, is that a foul nowadays? Because it's obviously the follow. Lacazette gets the shot away, but it's the follow through which actually takes him out. Is it still a foul? I think it is. I think we've seen it with numerous other ones as well, where I think the follow through still catches them even after the ball's gone. I seem to remember clearly it was Spurs-Chelsea when Alonso got absolutely clattered by the goalie. And, Alonso had actually got to the ball before him, but still the follow through absolutely nails him. For me, it's still a penalty. So I wouldn't have any real complaints about that if I was a Spurs fan, to be honest with you. But obviously, Arsenal fan perspective, you must be pleased.
Yeah, of course. I mean, penalty, definitely a penalty for me. The ball's still in play to be chased after Lacazette fluffs it. Nico Pepe, by the way, absolutely fuming, because he's put an absolute peach of the ball in for Lacazette to absolutely fluff his lines for. Lucky, really,
what is
that
he doing
Sanchez
fluffing it anyway.
Sanchez absolutely flies into him. I think it could be a penalty even if Lacazette gets the shot off, because Sanchez is going nowhere near it. He just dives into Lacazette. The Lamela goal. Lamela, such a strange man. He does two things on a football pitch: score RABONAs and get sent off. And he gave us the doubler last night.
Yeah.
Gave us 2 in one game. The RABONA goal, it's less impressive when you realise that's easier for him than shooting with his right foot. He's the most one-footed player. True. He's the most one-footed player I've ever seen in my life, and he pulls them out more frequently than he pulls a right-footed shot out. The red card, I'm so glad when players like that get sent off, just the digs and the kicks and the elbows all throughout the game for 90 minutes, it's so frustrating to watch. So seeing him get sent off and knowing that will put a damper on the goal, especially considering they lost at the end of it, really does help the situation. But yeah, I think we deserve the win. I think Spurs, and we saw by the last 15 minutes, in typical Arsenal fashion, they go 1 goal up and suddenly, oh no, we have to keep a lead now. I forgot how to play football. Are you? Anyone know how to play football anymore? Yeah. How Spurs didn't score, even with 10 men in that last 15, I have no idea. But it just goes to show, if Spurs went for the throat from the start, they could have easily sent us to the cleaners if they wanted to. Kane could have scored 2 or 3 on another day, got unlucky with the free kick. Gabriel with the goal line clearance headed away.
That in the last, really late on, sort of 90th minute-esque. And I think that's sort of the moments as well where you find Arsenal, if they're going to slip up, it's going to be really late on, isn't it? They're going to lure you in, and then all of a sudden, right at the end, make a mess of it. And I think that block from Sanchez, from Sanchez's shot by Gabriel, that was something where it was like, that was serious because I mean, I was surprised they didn't knock him out. It was like Rocky Balboa taking that to the face. You know, I mean, it was seriously impressive. And I thought, I mean, here's a question for you, Jack. Regardless of the result, a lot of people have been talking about it. I saw a lot of people talking about it in the build-up to the North London derby this week. Is the North London derby as big as it used to be? Because a lot of people are saying it's now, you know, it used to be all about Arsenal United, regardless of the North London derby. Is it still as big, do you think, as a derby game? Or is it now Chelsea Spurs? I mean, like, a lot of people seem to see that wrong.
Let's not take the mick.
Well, I'm raising the point. I'm raising the question.
I mean, Chelsea. No one looks out on the calendar for Chelsea Spurs apart from Chelsea fans. Let's be honest. But there's you have to say that the North London derby's gone down in stature, but that's only because of where the clubs are in the league. I think if they were both hot in the top four race, then it would be a really hotly contested, highly watched derby. But since they're both lingering 6th to 10th, it's tough to take it seriously as two massive clubs going at each other right now. But I think, as you said from the get-go, the entertainment factor's still there. We still got a good game out of it, and thank God, considering the rest of the weekend's football we got.
Yeah. It was a struggle, wasn't it? The expectations were high, and unfortunately, I think they were a bit too high from us. Yeah. So, I mean, at least we had one game which delivered something to talk about, at least.
Finally, on Arsenal Spurs, Aubameyang dropped for arriving late to the pre-team meeting. Now, Derby Day, for Arteta to be pushing discipline on Derby Day. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think that's too harsh, or do you think there's certain standards and the players have to meet them regardless?
Well, look, I think there's certain standards. I mean, everyone must have seen that photo from Chelsea when Lampard was manager of like all the list of fines. Yeah. You know, specifically for different things. If you arrived late, or if you weren't in your match day suit, or things like this, and you're thinking you're looking at it's like £500 a minute, and I know these players are on huge amounts of money, but even still, that must have been pretty frustrating for players. And I think the thing with the Aubameyang one, why it's so interesting is club captain, if the derby is still the biggest game of Arsenal's season right now in terms of how big a game it is, then to drop him for being late at a team meeting. Shows real balls from Arteta, doesn't it? It shows that he's going to take no nonsense, which is probably what you want to see. But at the same time, how much does that backfire if you'd have lost yesterday quite comfortably? Because all of a sudden then, all the heat goes onto Arteta on should Aubameyang been in the team. I think, and surely it must be more than that. To drop him for a game of that significance, for just being late to a team meeting. I know he's captain, you've got to set an example, but is that... Do you then drop him completely? I don't know. I think Arteta in the end got his way, didn't he? He got the 3 points. He got the win. But I think if it had gone wrong, all of the questions, everyone's looking at him completely. I mean, what did you think of it?
When I saw it pre-game, I was really confused because I was wondering what he could have possibly done to have been dropped but still make the bench. That's a weird line of discipline of, oh well, you can't be doing that, you're out of the team, but we'll keep you on the bench in case we need you.
Yeah, we're going to keep you on the
to bail us out and make me look like an absolute fool if we're
in
behind.
Case we're losing 2-1 in the final minutes. Look, I may go to you. That's what it basically is.
Also, when we were, I'm not sure if it was 1-1 or 2-1 at the time. He sends Aubameyang out to warm up just to bring on El Nene. I think that was a lovely bit of shithousery from Arteta himself.
Yeah. Well, it's been a good weekend of it as well, Jack.
It's
been a good weekend. Sometimes you got to, and with Arteta, this being his first management job, maybe people have said, is he up to it? Has he got the character to deal with sort of strong personalities? And I know, he obviously shipped out a load of those in January, the likes of Ozil and Socrates, Mustafi, Kolasinac, but maybe this is him putting his imprint on the team. I highly doubt it, as I still don't really rate you. But I'm sorry.
Yeah, I look at the table and I don't have an argument right now. Well, let's talk
But no,
about your
I mean,
lot
it's
then.
a work in progress. Yeah,
Let's talk about your lot then. Well, I mean, the rest of the week and stuff, as I've mentioned, it's going to be a quick run through. I think I can't see too much discussion.
It'll be brief.
So Chelsea 0, Leeds 0. Chelsea become the second team to draw 0-0 with Leeds this season after Arsenal did it in November. Both games you come out of it
Following in your
wondering,
footsteps.
both games you come out of it wondering how on earth that ended 0-0. Chelsea, same old story really. Looked pretty solid at the back, and then going forward, like kind of feigned a threatening nature, but nothing too substantial. The closest you got was when the two Leeds defenders booted it off each other, and it nearly looped Meslier into his own net, which would have been a real talking point. But what did you think? I saw Kai Havertz was kind of playing in the false 9 or the 9 role in this setup. You obviously got Champions League in midweek. Do you think he got unlucky, or do you think there's still a bit more adapting to do? Because I saw a bit more from him than I have seen throughout the rest of the season.
I mean, he was in that position for the Everton game, and he was pretty instrumental. You know, obviously, it was off. I think it was off his shot. I think he got a touch to it where the own goal came from against Everton. You know, obviously John Pickford nailed him, and we got the penalty to make it 2-0. So obviously he then gets the start on Saturday, and you know, he looked livelier in that position than he's done in any position all season. He had opportunities against Leeds. But nearly every shot was just straight at the keeper. Like, I mean, straight down the middle. Like, he couldn't put it left or right. So, I mean, there's definitely positives there in terms of 70 million that we've spent on a player, and now he's finally showing just slightly something that he can do. But, I mean, even look, you know, we go to Ellen Road. I don't think anyone would have predicted 0-0 for this game. I certainly didn't. I know that we've been solid at the back, but I thought just with how Leeds play football, with a bit the rivalry that it is, I thought big goals in this. And I was at work at the time, and on commentary for the game was Sam Matterface, and Sam goes, I think it was about 25 minutes in, and he goes, "There is no chance this game is ending 0-0." And at that point, I thought, right, I wonder what the odds are of 0-0, because that's definitely going to happen now. And lo and behold, it did.
Oh,
and
poor old Sam.
Yeah, I think this is the thing. Look, it's great from a defensive perspective. You know, Kat Mendy, the man's racking up clean sheets at the minute. I think he's on 14 now for the season. And he made a couple of really good saves as well. Especially that one from Tyler Roberts, where it's almost like literally the smallest part of his fingertip he's managed to get to it, and it hits the underside of the bar. Unbelievable save. But from our perspective, look, we've got big games coming up, like you said, Atletico midweek. I think obviously now the thing is, every game now, I'm looking at Leeds, and people going, would you take a point against Leeds? And I was going, no, because I'm actually starting to get really worried about West Ham, which I never thought I would ever say in about a race for top 4. But and this is the thing, it's going to get close now. I think at the moment the run that we're on, and is brilliant. It's fantastic. It's about sort of keeping that up now, because our run in towards the end of the season is really difficult. You know, we've got the final day of the season. We've got Villa away, which is always a difficult game for us. We've got City, we've got Arsenal, Leicester as well. Those are not easy games by any stretch of the imagination. So it's going to be now, I think, our next 3, we've got, the relegation candidates. We've got the likes of West Brom, Brighton, Sheff in the FA Cup as well. So those are the games where you're going to be wanting slapping points out for fun. But I mean, look, it's difficult to take a 0-0, but it wasn't the most entertaining 0-0, but it was certainly nothing like the standard of West Brom Newcastle a couple of weeks back. Nothing like that. Nothing like that.
That's
nothing
kind
where
of
you'd rather watch
now
paint dry.
That's now the benchmark.
Oh, it is. It's
of
any
0-0s.
0-0. It's like, is it any more entertaining than that game? Yeah. So no, it was. I'll take a point. I'll have to take a point.
Yeah, and you're mentioning West Ham there. We've got Man United, who won 1-0 against West Ham last night. Another terrible, drab game. West Ham really did not go
Man
for
United
it at
love
all.
churning them out this season.
Yeah.
United love to churn out a double.
This one I do think was West Ham's fault, though. Mainly, they sat back far too much for me. Didn't spring enough counters. No real other talking points for me other than the goal, which was a Dawson own goal, as clear as you like, a Dawson own goal, which Scott McTominay runs off celebrating.
But I don't know why, because surely he knows in his heart he's nowhere near
there's
it.
30 cameras around in every direction.
Maybe he knows that VAR can be so diabolical that he thinks maybe they'll see that as my goal if I just run off and claim it. I mean, I don't know what he's thinking.
You can't even take the old going on target thing. It flicks off him directly behind him in a straight line, and Dawson bullet headers it into his own net.
He may as well have been stood with Dean Henderson at the opposite end of the pitch because he was nowhere near it. I mean, like, come on, Scott. And I know everyone wants to claim a goal now, but like sometimes you're going like, you haven't even got a chance on that one. But I think you're right. With in terms just briefly, West Ham were going to go to Old Trafford, weren't they? And they weren't going to play attacking, to try and open United up. They were just going to sit and try and I think they were happy to. They would have been happy to take a point. But yeah, that's what happens, and I think it showed with Spurs as well, doesn't it? If you sit back and you try to just sit it out all game, eventually players of quality will just break you down, and a moment like that, it happens.
Yep, and yet another team in that sort of Europe race, Everton. They showed inconsistencies as they lost 2-1 to Burnley. How good were Burnley in this game, by the way? I've seen them start a game so well.
I've not seen Burnley play so well in a very long time. They were cutting Everton apart defensively for fun, and it was, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, the players that Burnley have, none of them scream to you, do they? Like he's a world beater, or they have players who do their job well, like Chris Wood, Dwight McNeil. And those two showed up. And I mean, that Dwight McNeil goal as well. The man hardly gets a shot on target. So to absolutely scorch one into the top corner like that, it was fantastic. And honestly, it could have been 4 or 5 that Burnley scored. It could have been so many more. And I mean, that's what's so interesting, isn't it? A team like Burnley, people have been going, could they be in the relegation fight? Could they be Lord? A performance like that, you go in, a couple more of them, no worries at all. They're really impressive, really, really good. And I think, that's Everton top 4 done, isn't it? They'll be fighting for a top 6 now, but that's top 4 done for them, I think.
Yeah, I just think it shows don't have that consistency to really mount the charge needed. Burnley, you mentioned Dwight McNeil's goal there. I do really rate Dwight McNeil as a player. I think it's tough to be a tricky winger in that Burnley team when all you do is non-stop crosses and tracking back. But I'm really glad he showed some of that skill there. I really hope we see a bit more of it, because if he gets a move, I really think he's a player that could excel in at least a mid-table Prem team in a more attacking role. In terms of Burnley relegation rivals, it didn't really help out that all the other relegation rivals were kind of in form this weekend. Brighton picking up a win against Southampton. About time that they actually make do with some of their chances. Lewis Dunk with a bullet header from a corner, and then followed up later on. I believe who scored the second.
It was Che Adams.
Che Adams scored a great goal for Southampton.
The Trossard goal for Brighton was the second.
Trossard.
Great goal that.
Trossard
really
takes with a
goal.
great finish to take the dub for Brighton. Are you still unsure? Do you think there's still a chance that they go down?
Well, look, it's really tight down there. In terms of Brighton's home form is what lets them down so badly. Away from home, completely different story. I don't think Graham Potter, let alone any Brighton fan or any player, understands why they can't play and get results at the Amex compared to away from home. Look, they really needed a win, and to grind that out is huge. But I mean, it's so close. I mean, you're looking at those teams in there with Fulham, Brighton, Newcastle. and only a point separates Brighton and Newcastle, and that's the next game this Saturday. That's huge, but it's at the Amex. So, I mean, even with a really poor Newcastle team, this Brighton team, they just can't play at home. I don't know what it is. But, I mean, look, it's a huge win, and I think it's, Graham Potter to finally just get 3 points after, like you said, the last few games. Even, you look back to some of the games over the last few weeks, like that Crystal Palace one where you're thinking, how on earth did they lose? To finally just get 3 points. But like you said, it's nobody's done them any favours, because it's almost like, oh, great, back to square one. But, I think it's all about them three now. I think it's about Brighton, I think it's about Newcastle and Fulham for that final relegation place.
Yeah, and even if they can take respite with Fulham dropping points, it's tough to really analyse it when you're against Man City and they can just take you to the clean. I mean, Fulham didn't help themselves out with a couple poor mistakes at the back in a 3-0 defeat, but I'm sure they'll come back and it'll still be a tight battle. Newcastle got that point against Aston Villa as well in that last minute.
Well, how big
Jamal
could that be?
Lascelles equalised it. Yeah, exactly. That could be huge. It just puts even more emphasis, as you say, on that Brighton Newcastle game. It's kind of losers in much more trouble than the winner in that one.
But just quickly, Jack, on that Newcastle Villa game, like you just mentioned there, there's a picture from the final. I think it's 60 or 90 seconds of that game. Villa are leading 1-0, and Villa have the ball in the Newcastle box.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you doing? Like, how close the game? Just go to the corner and be a bit of a shithouse and just just nick it off him and get another corner or a throw in. Like, I mean, that's the thing. How huge could that goal be? Like we've just said there, come the end of the season. If it is, at the minute, it's a point that separates Newcastle and Brighton. That's how big it's going to be.
Yeah. And finally, on the roundup, we've got to talk about Chris Wilder, who has mutually left Sheffield United this week. Obviously, we know the issues Sheffield United have had this season. Bottom in the table, 14 points. First game without him, though, a 5-0 humiliating loss to Leicester, where they just weren't even close to turning up.
Oh, it's embarrassing.
And I think this segment for me is going to be an ode to Wilder. The job he's done there, I think, to get them up into the Premier League in the first place through this expansive style is something to truly credit the man, and to get them a top half finish as well last season. No one expected that at all. I think second season syndrome was bound to happen. As bad as it did, not sure, but I think they're a much better team with him than without him, and I do fear for them going into next season now more than I did.
Well, I mean, it's such an interesting one, isn't it? Because you would think when the news broke on Friday that he was apparently going to go, that he'd apparently been sacked, and they didn't even confirm it until the Saturday evening, you thought to yourself, of all the timing now, why in the middle of March, when you knew the writing was really on the wall come sort of November, December, you knew that they were pretty much down and out by then. I was expecting, you saw it with West Brom and they bring in Sam Allardyce to try and reinvigorate their season. I was expecting that if Wilder was going to go, it would be then. To keep him until now, you've almost accepted you're getting relegated. So I thought they were going to do, you've seen it with sort of Daniel Farke in the Championship. Norwich go down, straight back down in 20th place. They've kept Daniel Farke, and now they're 10 points clear at the top of the Championship. So I was expecting them to keep Chris Wilder and sort of then build. Clearly, there's stuff going on, and I think so many people have said that the writing was on the wall, that people sort of knew that this was going to be a possibility, that this was going to happen. But I just find the timing so strange. Something must have happened, Jack, behind the scenes, where I think he was starting to get frustrated with the board and wanted backing in terms of next season. I just find it so strange, of all times, and a performance like yesterday's, where you're letting Kelechi Iheanacho score a hat-trick against you. You not only have you accepted relegation, but you've almost given up. It was embarrassing to see. So no, I think Chris Wilder's done a fantastic job there. And I mean, this is the thing, Jack. I think you'll agree. People are remembering Chris Wilder for this season and how Sheffield United performed. But I still think there are people who are going, and I think the majority of Sheffield United fans are thinking, last season, not only did he get them to a top half finish, and I know they might have dropped off in the lockdown period, but he was getting them challenging for... People were going,
Yeah.
Sheffield United can't get Champions League football. They can't get Europe,
Yeah.
can they? And you look at that, and you've got to say, you know, what he brought to the Premier League, people couldn't work it out with the sort of overlapping centre-halves, the football that he brought. And I think this is the thing that people worked out this season, but that's what he should be remembered for.
Yeah.
And I don't think it will be long before he gets another top job. I think it's just obviously very sad for Sheffield United fans because it is sort of a legend of the club who's done so well as a manager for him that, you know, they've just let him go just like that, and, you know, they haven't backed him, which is, it's going to be frustrating for them.
Yeah, it's a real shame. I do think this might be more of a Wilder wanting out more than a full-on sacking, to be honest. As you mentioned there's definitely tensions between him and the board. He wanted players in the summer that the board didn't agree with, and they kind of put their foot in on the new signings. You can see week by week Wilder getting unhappier and unhappier. I was reading a piece on The Athletic about it, and they said after the Palace game where they were still without a win almost halfway into the season, and full time goes, and they could just overhear Wilder saying, "Oh, don't know how much more I can take of this bollocks."
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing. I mean, look, I think one of the big frustrations for him as well will be this season. I think what's let them down is the fact that they haven't had that out and out goal scorer that they can rely on. There's nobody in that team. You know, I know they brought in Rhian Brewster. But to put all that pressure on a young man's shoulders who has never played regular Premier League football, and to expect him to come in and all of a sudden be their saviour, it's not going to happen. And
I think the lack of minutes of Brewster shows that that's not truly a Wilder signing.
I think you're completely right as well. I think you're completely right. And you know, at the end of the day, he might agree with bringing him in to give him some experience, a backup striker, but he's not going to lead your line, is he? Currently, you need someone with Premier League experience, and I think that's the thing. This season was the season for them to, and you've seen it over previous years when clubs have been in the Premier League for long periods after coming up. They sort of slowly build each year, so they slightly improve, and they might be in a relegation fight for a couple of years.
Yeah.
But if they just keep slowly building, they'll become sort of like that mid-table side, like we've seen with a Palace, for example. But they just didn't make those signings. You know, it must be so frustrating for Sheffield fans. I think they all accepted they were going down. Yeah. I didn't think they accepted that they were going to lose Chris Wilder or he was going to leave as their manager.
Yep, do hope Wilder gets into a job as soon as possible.
I think we'll see him soon.
Great character in the game. Really fantastic to have him in the league. Hope he bounces back sooner rather than later. Well, we were lucky enough this week, Will, to have 2 EFL trophy finals, back-to-back days. We were complaining about the football. How can we be so greedy to look past
2
double
on the bounce
EFL trophies?
Double
makes up for cancellations last season. Sunderland beating Tranmere to win this season's 24 hours after Salford beat Portsmouth to win last season's. Had us thinking though. No one's talking about the EFL trophy. They're talking about the Papa John trophy. Well, his real
the Papa
name,
Johns.
The real name had us thinking. Top 5 sponsorships in football. Now I think we've gone down 2 different roads with this. I think have gone for more iconic route.
I've gone for more iconic. Some of them are quite controversial, but it's sort of iconic to me when I think of a team. I think of this. So I've gone with iconic. What about yourself?
I've gone for funny. I've gone for ones that made me laugh to this day. Strangest, bizarre, but still memorable in their own right.
Okay.
If we want to start with the iconic ones, if you want to rattle off your top 5 for us.
Just before I get into the top 5, I wanted to give an honourable mention. So these are all kit sponsors that I've done.
Okay.
But I wanted to give an honourable mention because a lot of talk has been about the League Cup. And, it's been, the Carling Cup, the Capital One Cup, the Carabao. I'm a Carling Cup man through and through. It's an iconic name. I just wanted to give that the respect it deserves. Carabao, Capital One, doesn't have the ring. It's all about the Carling. But, okay, my top 5. These are my most iconic. So number 5, I've gone with Inter Milan and Pirelli as their shirt sponsor. I think for me that is. I know that the sponsorship is. I think it's ending this season after years and years. But whenever you see anything associated with Inter Milan, you just see that Pirelli tyres. You think of that iconic team where they had all those the likes of Ronaldo, Zanetti, when they won the Champions League in 11-12 as well with Mourinho. I think it's just such an iconic shirt sponsor for me, with that blue and black kit. Absolute beauty. That's my number 5. I'm going Inter Milan Pirelli. Now, my number 4. I'm going Liverpool and Carlsberg.
Big beer theme.
Big beer. Well, look. The thing is with this one, I always think of the kit where you had the likes of Steven Gerrard and like the likes of like Xabi Alonso, Mascherano, Torres as well, and I associate it with them being that club trying to win the league, but always just settling for either 5th or slipping into the top 4, which gives me sort of good memories because and it also gives me memories of when Chelsea always every year seemed to play Liverpool in the Champions League. I don't know why it happened. It was nearly every year we'd get them in the knockouts.
Yeah.
But that gives me good memories all the same. So I'm going to go Liverpool Carlsberg number 4. Number 3, Jack. It's going to be slightly off one for you, I'm sure. I'm going Bolton Wanderers Reebok.
Huge.
Now, these were the days where you could expect to see Sam Allardyce at it on the touchline. You've got a team, Kevin Nolan, Nicholas Anelka, that phenomenal Finnish keeper, Jussi Jääskeläinen in the sticks. And I'm sorry, but what made Bolton a team that were challenging for Europe? Big Sam football. And I mean, it just, the whole Reebok thing, that makes me think of a successful Bolton team. It's a shame what's happened to them in recent years, obviously now in League 2. But I just associate the Reebok Stadium, Reebok as a shirt sponsor, that was iconic for me growing up, and actually seeing a successful Bolton team, I think, which is a shame how it slipped off. Number 2, I'm staying close to home, Chelsea and Samsung. It was a sad day for me when Samsung finally left the building and we replaced it with that well-known brand of Yokohama tyres. And so many memories of the Samsung kit. So many memories, the success and the sort of growth of the team. For around, I think we had it for just over 10 years. And, through that time, winning all these trophies. And, for me, Samsung is just an iconic shirt sponsor. I had it on the very first kit I got with Frank Lampard number 8 on the back. That's my number 2. And then my number 1, as iconic as they go, Barcelona and UNICEF. And it makes me think of that Pep Guardiola team. That Pep team that were just so dominant, so successful, winning the Champions League at Wembley against United. That beautiful shirt. I remember getting Dani Alves on the back of it.
Oh, nice.
Of all players to get.
Outside
I was
the
in
pit.
Barcelona. I thought, I've got to get a Barcelona shirt. Do I get Messi? Do I get Henry? Do I get Zlatan? No. I'm going to go right back. By trade, I was a Stratford Town right back, and I thought I'm sticking to my roots and getting Dani Alves too.
Let him know.
So, that was my top 5. Yeah, my number 1, the Barcelona UNICEF sponsorship.
That's a good pick. That last one especially is a great pick. If we've got an iconic, I'd like to throw out pretty much every Arsenal kit pre-Emirates. O2,
I know,
JVC,
the O2,
Sega.
yeah.
I mean, take your pick. But yeah, I'm a big kit man. Sponsorships make or break the kit, and when it's an iconic one, it just ups that kit level. So from a good kit to a great kit. I've gone a completely different route.
Okay, let's hear it.
Completely different route. Far more tongue-in-cheek. Here's my top 5 funniest sponsorships in football. Number 5, in honour of the Papa John's trophy, I've gone for a cup. It's, I believe, the Scottish League Cup, but it's more better known. The Tunnocks Caramel Wafer Challenge Cup. It just reminds me, I think with this merging with the Papa John's trophy, it's got the American vibe of, you would hear the KFC Honeysuckle Bucket sponsored by Soccer's Championship. And I don't know if I want it in my football, but I can certainly appreciate the comedy value of it.
A Tunnocks caramel wafer. Well,
The Tunnocks Caramel Wafer
okay.
Challenge Cup. Also, love a Tunnocks Caramel Wafer. So fair play to them.
Big incentive.
Number 4, Everton being sponsored by Angry Birds. The sleeve sponsor was funny enough, but I believe they also had an advert with, I think, Pickford, Yerry Mina, Andre Gomez. They were playing the game. They were giving like fake oohs, ahs, playing Angry Birds with like pigs with their haircuts on. Incredible content. I think they've still got it on the shirt to this day, and I'm sure
I think they do. They have
I'm
on
sure
the
it's a
shirt
good
sleeves.
money maker. Angry Birds is a massive game to get hold of, but it's just funny to see on that shirt sleeve. Number 3, Manchester City's multi-year deal with dating app Tinder. This includes videos of the City players. I think if I remember rightly, they were helping fans on Tinder. I think that's still on YouTube. Really weird stuff. The move was made to help both brands apparently reach new audiences. Not sure what.
Well, I mean, who would be the? I don't know who I would trust out of those City players to help me most on Tinder.
I think it was Sterling, Mendy, and someone else. I want to say.
I wouldn't trust Ben Mendy. He's hardly in the team. He couldn't.
This was a couple years back.
He couldn't assist anything. No chance of him helping me swipe left or right on that. I'm not trusting Ben with it.
Best part of this deal, when it was announced, it was infamously followed with a massive blimp with Man City and Tinder's logo on it across Manchester, which was announced and sent across the city the day after they lost 3-0 to Liverpool in the Champions League. Which just led to
timing, really
fantastic
good timing.
Content all over Twitter. It was great stuff. Number 2, simple but effective. In the late 2000s, Getafe in Spain had struck up a kit sponsor with Burger King. It's not a great look on the shirt, but nothing too out of the ordinary. Oh wait, pull the shirt over the head. You've got a picture of the king's face for when you celebrate. It's absolute genius marketing. I don't know if any of the players actually did it, but there were tons of marketing pictures.
Well, do you get booked for that now?
I don't know if
Or is it just taking the shirt off?
I don't know if kit over the face is booking, and if it's not, it's even more genius from the BK crew. Number 1, Almond Vale Stadium in Livingston. You're probably thinking, that's not weird, Jack. That's a perfectly normal sounding stadium. That's because that's what the fans and most others call it, as they don't want to call it its official sponsorship name, which is the Tony Macaroni Arena. The Tony Macaroni Arena in Scotland. Tony Macaroni being a brand of Scottish Italian restaurants. It's the worst name of a stadium I've ever heard in my life, apart from the Birmingham Trillion Trophy Stadium, but that's not sponsorship. Yeah. So they get off scot-free this week. But the Tony Macaroni Arena in Livingston, Scotland, takes the gold for me this week in the funny sponsorships in football, just for the name.
Well, I remember that. I mean, that is a great list. It made me think of. I remember. I think it was England, Sri Lanka in the cricket. They recently played a series and they were fighting for a trophy. And I found out the trophy was called the Moose Cup.
Nice.
So I mean, of all things, sad names for trophies. Nothing really entices me to, imagine that Jordan Henderson has now got his hands on the elusive Moose Cup. It doesn't have that same ring.
I could get over it. I think
you could deal with Moose Cup.
I think he could get over with me.
You could deal with the Moose Cup.
The Moose Cup.
I'm not so sure.
Brand
That's a
it
good
well
list,
enough.
though. I like that list.
Put Papa John's in front of it. Oh, nice. I might get involved.
Papa's Moose Cup. I mean, it's a good list, Jack. I have to give you that.
Cheers, mate. Thank you. I'll tell you what's not good. The predictions.
Yeah, I didn't think it would be.
2 weeks running. 0-0. In the predictions.
0-0.
We haven't got a point in 3 weeks.
Jeez.
It's embarrassing.
At what point do we just put our hands up and go, we don't know anything?
Yeah.
God.
So it's still 14-all in the full-on table. I don't know what to say at this point. That's so poor from us. So poor. I mean, we've talked about that the games were tough to predict. We both had United winning. They drew with Milan. You were robbed of 3 points there, to be fair. Milan equalising right at the end. Chelsea Leeds, we both had goals in that one, obviously, and we both had Spurs beating Arsenal.
no.
The one time I'm not faithful to the lads.
Yeah, one time you don't back them, killer.
My own fault, really. On to this week, though. We move on. We're streaky players, we're form players. We just need those points behind us to
let's do it.
To get moving. So let's start off with it's a game we've bigged up for 2 weeks now. Brighton, Newcastle in the league. At the Amex, you've mentioned the poor home form. I'm going to get started this week. I back the Brighton boys. I backed them against Leicester. I'll back them against Newcastle. I'll say 1-0. 1-0. I think it's one of them games. Newcastle will sit in for it. Brighton will pump shots and missed opportunities in before. But I think they will grab the goal. I'm going for my boy. I'm going Danny Welbeck to back.
Wow, okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, you don't fancy any points this week either, by the sounds of it. You're not up for getting on the score sheet. Danny Welbeck, wow, okay, interesting choice. I think Brighton's home form is terrible. I think Newcastle at the moment are terrible. Do I see goals? No. I'm going 0-0. Non-applicable as goal scorer, it's a 0-0er. It's an 8 o'clock at night, which means it's going to be a dull game. Either way. So I'm
after we've bigged it up for the last 2 weeks, he's gone for a firm 0-0. Fair play.
Firm 0-0.
Our only bit of FA Cup action in the predictions this week. We've gone Leicester, Manchester United. Will talk us through it.
Well, I think it's going to be an interesting game. Obviously, FA Cup. We're heading towards the latter rounds now, so it's actually starting to get a bit interesting. And it's quarterfinals, isn't it? Are we at the I think we're at the quarterfinals. So, I mean, here we go. Chance of being at the semis, playing at Wembley as well. I think this is the biggest game of the weekend, in it for me. I think it's going to be 2-1 United. I know it's at the King Power. I think it's going to be 2-1 United. I think still Leicester, they've been getting away with it recently because they have been playing teams like Brighton, Sheffield United. I think against the United side, they're going to find it hard, especially if they don't have the likes of James Maddison there with the creativity. They've Harvey Barnes out as well. So I'm going 2-1 United. I'm going to go Mason Greenwood to score.
Oh, I like that pick.
Mason Greenwood.
Looked lively against West Ham. Unlucky not to score.
Exactly.
Good pick. I'm going for my classic Leicester score. I'm going 2-2, and I'll talk you through why. Leicester, obviously, we mentioned the injuries there, Maddison and Barnes, but there are a couple of players that can fill in there. Get Vardy and Iheanacho on their day. As we saw, they can still provide with some goals. Man United will be firmly focused on their Europa League game, I feel, against Milan a few days before. So I think there might be a little bit of rotation, not anything to really warrant a huge switch in predictions, but I think they could be a bit lackadaisical at times at the back as well. I'm going 2-2. Goal scorer, going to go on the United side, I think. I'm going to go for... He claimed one. Let's go for he actually scores one. Let's go Scott McTominay.
Well, you know what? He's actually scored.
He's piped in with a couple, hasn't
recently, he? Yeah.
I just thought I'm one for the narrative. So I thought if he's claiming that own goal, at least give him something to actually try and claim.
Watch him score against Milan now.
Oh God, you're so right. And if he doesn't score, I'll just claim that he scored, and I'll run off celebrating with my hand up.
I've got 3 points. Yeah,
and finally
bang that one out.
Finally, we've got Villa Tottenham also in the Premier League.
Yeah.
This one's quite big, to be fair. Both quite close in the league. Villa kind of off form recently, will be unhappy with that Newcastle result. Likewise, Tottenham with the North London Derby result. Tottenham play in the Europa League in midweek as well. But a 2-0 lead in that has got to have you thinking that they... we'll have that one pretty easily sorted. No Son, though, I'd imagine, if he pulled up quite badly in that one. No Lamela either. But Lucas Moura looked good. And I'm going to say he's going to score. And I'm going to say 1-1.
Wow. Okay. That's interesting. Well,
Three outsider picks for goal scorers.
I'm going 2-1 Spurs. 2-1 Spurs I'm going. And I'm just... Look, Villa have struggled so clearly without Jack Grealish. As much as Dean Smith wants to deny it, they struggle without him. He is literally the talisman of that team. And I just think even if Spurs don't have Son, they've got someone like Harry Kane, and they've got players of better quality, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be tight. I think it's going to be cagey, but I think I'm going to go 2-1 Spurs, and I'm going to go Ollie Watkins to score for Villa. Think he's been brilliant this season, and especially stepped up to the Premier League when many people doubted him, like myself. So yeah, I'm going to go 2-1 Spurs on this one, but Watkins to score.
Okay, so at least if we do get nil point, we're not actually going to be here for the next couple of weeks to describe it. So this is an announcement. Yeah. We're going to take a couple of weeks off because if the Premier League feel like it, they want it, then I feel like we deserve it too. The thing is, next weekend's football, you've got, I think it's 4 Premier League games and the Cup. It's not enough for me. It's not enough for me. The Premier League games don't look spicy enough for me.
Yeah, that's what you need.
Yeah, and the Cup's the Cup, I'm not talking about that until the semis now, I don't think.
Yeah, fair point.
And then after that's international football. So I think we're going to take a well-deserved 2 weeks off after 9 weeks straight.
I think it makes it... I think for episode 10 as well, that's going to be a huge build-up. La Decima. We're going to reach it.
Yeah.
We need to get ready.
That. Yeah.
So we'll think of some stuff.
We've got to get prepared for that. But please stay involved with Twitter, TikTok, YouTube. You'll see if you're on YouTube, you'll see the Twitter and the TikTok down below. If you're on the YouTube, please subscribe. Please like. Going to be looking to get older highlights from the first 9 episodes up on the YouTube as their own standalone videos. If you're just craving that, pick that one out content. It will be there for you. Don't you worry about that. We'll be back in a couple weeks' time, hopefully with an improved Breakfast Club, Will. How is it looking today?
Well, look, this is going to be the easiest roundup I've ever given to Breakfast Club. It was a disgrace.
Yeah.
It was a nil. It was a 0 out of 10. I'm not even giving it a point. The only one I ate was when you saw me eat it on camera, and I genuinely thought I was eating sawdust. So, look, I love shreddies with milk, not shreddies on their own. So it's going to be a 0 out of 10 for me. Or a disgrace. Shreddies are a disgrace.
Malteser's hot chocolate headquarters up in flames is through
it's
celebration.
Party time. We're out of the relegation
time
zone.
At Nestle and Maltese or Mars, whoever does Maltesers, as they
we're out.
They're not being bottom now of the of the infamous
the Breakfast Club standing the
league
ratings
table. One time in the future, it's got to be shreddies with milk to see how it compares.
Well, look,
and to get them on the board.
That can come in episode 50 as we reminisce on the past 50 episodes of Take That One Out.
Well, that is full time on episode 9, and we'll see you in a couple weeks for La Decima, episode 10. We'll see you there. Thank you very much for joining, and goodbye.